Morning and welcome to the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee. We're glad you could join us this morning. I'm going to ask members to go ahead and on the automatic machine to please indicate their attendance, and then each one of us can introduce ourselves. Will the clerk please open the roll? And Mr. Servo.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Servo is right outside the door, so when he comes in, you may want to note his attendance. Okay, starting from my very far right, I am going to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves one by one. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Senator Christy New Craig. I represent parts of Chesapeake and Virginia Beach.
Senator Emily Jordan. I represent the 17th District, which is from the tip of Portsmouth all the way to part of Dinwiddie County.
Represent Senate District 3, which is Roanoke County, Botetourt County, Craig County, Allegheny County, Rockbridge County, Buena Vista, Lexington, Stanton, Waynesboro, and Augusta County. And technically Bedford County, because I do have 2 voters in Bedford that I represent as well. So,
Bill T. Steff, used to be just Virginia Beach. Now it's Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Accomack, Northampton County, and 42 towns. But who's counting? Happy to be here. Glad everybody made it on this great Friday morning.
Senator Rice Reeves, 28th District, Western Spotsy, Orange, Culpeper, Madison, Greene, Rappahannock, and Fauquier.
Senator Barbara Favola. I represent the 40th District, and that is completely contained within Arlington County.
Good morning. I'm Senator Aaron Rouse, representing District 22, all of Virginia Beach.
Good morning, Skylar Van Valkenburg, Senator in the 16th District, which is Western Henrico County.
Good morning. I am Senator Angela Williams-Graves, representing the 21st District, which is all of Norfolk.
Good morning, Russet Perry. I represent the new 31st District. That's Loudoun and Fauquier County, parts of each.
Good morning, Senator Saddam Salim. I represent Senate District 37th. That's City of Fairfax, City of Falls Church, everything in between, in the town of Vienna.
Thank you. Senator McDougall, would you like to introduce yourself?
No.
The chair is going to ask you to.
Ryan McDougall, and I represent Hanover, James City, and a good portion of the Middle Peninsula.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have a few housekeeping items before we get to our formal agenda. I would like a motion to roll Senate Bill 190 into Senate Bill 19, and this is at the request of the patron of Senate Bill 190.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Ayes 12, no 0.
Thank you. The motion passes. This committee, because we do have a robust workload and we meet on Friday mornings, to be efficient and to make sure that every bill gets as complete a hearing as possible, I am going to establish 2 subcommittees. And one subcommittee will be the ABC subcommittee, and it will be chaired by Senator Rouse. The members will be Senator Perry, Senator Salim, Senator Reeves, and Senator DeSteff. The second committee will deal with cannabis issues, and I don't have the bills yet for cannabis. And the cannabis subcommittee will be chaired by Senator Servo. The members will be Senator Rouse, Senator Van Valkenburg, Senator Reeves, and Senator McDougall. On the ABC subcommittee, the chairs will meet with DLS staff and determine the meeting time. And the bills that I am now referring to the ABC subcommittee include Senate Bill 26, Senate Bill 168, Senate Bill 180, and Senate Bill 317. Just for purposes of information, and so everybody knows how the process will work, when a subcommittee hears the bill, that is the vehicle for public comment. The Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee will, for the most part, not be taking public comment on bills heard in the subcommittee. So I just tell you, if you're interested in the bills I mentioned, to pay attention to the docket and check the calendars that are always listed. Okay, next item on our agenda is a presentation from the Virginia Alcohol and Beverage Authority. I know Mr. Daniels is here. You've been busy this past year. I know you've conducted a couple studies. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is John Daniel, and I'm with the Virginia ABC. With me this morning, well, here they are. Look at this. Some of the members of our team I want to introduce to you all. Old members know them, I think. New members, they are here and ready and stand ready to help you in any way that they can during the course of the legislative session. First, our interim CEO, you knew him as our Chief of Law Enforcement. He is still that, and interim CEO, Tom Kirby. So, there's Dave Alfano. Dave is our Chief Administrative Officer, so he's got the numbers and all the fiscal information that you all may need relative to ABC matters during the course of the session. And then, of course, an old face, Chris Curtis. I think Chris Curtis has been with, I didn't mean your face was old face to them. Chris has actually been with ABC since the 70s, so he is our oracle of historic information. And then somewhere, Craig Maxey, who's one of our hearing officers who helps us during the course of the legislative session in reviewing bills. So that's our team. Please reach out to us if we can be of assistance in any way. We're at your beck and call, and look forward to working with all of you during the course of the next, I'm not counting, but 56 days. I've been asked to try to give you a quick update on matters that we were asked to look at during the course of the interim, various studies and so forth. So there were three. There was one on slotting fees, as you may recall. There was one on liquid nicotine, and then there was a third on cocktails to go. I think I'll start with the slotting fee. As you all recall, last session there was legislation to consider slotting fees and the prohibition of slotting fees for the use of in the realm of alcoholic beverages, common practice in the soda industry. We gathered stakeholders to look at the issue, and even the proponents of that legislation from last session weren't interested really in going forward. So it was a pretty easy conclusion to that study, but we did bring the stakeholders together, and I think the consensus, if there was one, was not to go forward in any other matter with respect to slotting fees for alcoholic beverages. So that's slotting fees. On liquid nicotine, last session there was legislation to license and regulate liquid nicotine facilities. During the course of the session, that legislation was turned into a Section 1 bill to study it. Initially, as the legislation left the General Assembly, it had the Secretary of Finance undertaking that study. When it came back during the reconvened session, it had ABC doing the study, and that's how it ended up with us. We were a little shorthanded in that we hadn't really followed the issue at all during the course of the session, but we had some great stakeholders, some of whom were probably in the room, who helped us try to get our arms around liquid nicotine. Although the group did not come to any conclusions with respect to a yes or a no with respect to whether or not there should be a licensing scheme for liquid nicotine. We did determine that part of the problem was cost associated with establishing a licensing program and who would do it. I think there was probably two clear conclusions. One, that ABC should not be doing it. And secondly, that there was perhaps funding from the settlement with Juul that could be used, given the parameters of what the settlement was for, that money could be used for licensing and a regulatory program for liquid nicotine. So that was liquid nicotine. The final interim effort that we undertook was relative to cocktails to go. As you all recall, well, some of you, during the pandemic, we had authorized cocktails to go as a bit of a lifeline at the request of the restaurateurs, so that since they couldn't have people coming in, they could take meals and you could have a beverage of your choice to go. We didn't have a stakeholder group on this one, but what we did do was to do some sampling of compliance with respect to underage sales. And just as a benchmark, on the ABC stores, the compliance rate for underage sales is about 98%. It's pretty good. What we found with brick and mortar cocktail to go facilities, basically the licensed restaurants and so forth, it was about 94%. The third category of third-party delivery entities was not quite at that level. It was more in the 55% compliance rate. And that's not, I'm not going to say that's a terribly scientific analysis of what was going on out there with respect to third-party delivery, but it was a new entity. We had established some criteria and guidelines, training, education for third-party delivery entities. And so our ultimate recommendation was that the sunset, which was on the legislation initially, be continued for a 2-year period across the board for both brick and mortar and for third parties. I understand that there's, I think Delegate Leftwich has legislation to allow brick and mortars to not be subject to a sunset and just go. And I think there's a 1-year sunset for the third-party delivery companies. We made our recommendation. Policy decision is ultimately you all's, of course, and we will, we'll regulate in accord with the policy decisions that you all and your colleagues in the House make. So, Madam Chair, that's the 3 studies we did. I'm happy to try to answer any questions that anybody may have about those studies, or the team is here if there are other questions relative to ABC. Without trespassing on your time, we're happy to try to respond to those.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels, and thank you for the hard work you've done this past year. Colleagues, if you have any questions, happy to take them. Senator Rouse.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron. Your cocktail to go study. I believe I'm carrying a bill for cocktails to go, and just wanted you to clarify the sunset for the third party, and how did you all go about getting that data?
Well, I'm going to defer to Tom Kirby to answer that, Senator, since it was the Bureau of Law Enforcement that did that analysis for us. So if that's all right with you, we'll let Chief Kirby respond.
Good morning. Tom Kirby for Virginia ABC, Interim CEO. Good morning, Madam Chair, Senator Rouse. Virginia ABC special agents went out and conducted underage buyer checks, which is where we utilize an underage person who looks very youthful. These checks are much more challenging than our normal checks, where we'll send out 2 agents and an underage buyer, go to a list of brick and mortar places, walk in, go to the bar, go to the convenience store refrigerator, take out the product, attempt to purchase it, because these involve ordering the product, scheduling delivery of the product, waiting for the product to arrive. You have to utilize credit card instead of cash. There's just lots of hurdles that are out there. But we ran these operations out in like the Roanoke, Lynchburg area, and then again in kind of central Virginia. And also, we will have places that appear that they're going to deliver alcohol, and then on the day of the check, they decide for whatever reason they're not doing it that day. And what we did was we actually ordered that product, would have it delivered, and then if the person gave it to the underage person, we considered that to be, a violation. And that's where we see that 54%. Versus when we go into our brick and mortar locations, we're seeing just a higher level of compliance than what we see in the delivery. So that's kind of where that recommendation came from, is that we think we just need a little more time to educate the third-party delivery companies, get them used to it. Because you got to remember, brick and mortar have been doing it for as long as I could ever remember. Probably anybody in this room could remember, except for maybe Chris. They've been doing it for a very long time. So that's the explanation.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Senator Rouse.
Just a further comment. Delivery drivers as well, with third-party delivery drivers, most of the time they're just trying to get the service or the food to just drop it off and go. So I think having that educational piece to the third party, we'll probably see that number go up a lot, and especially in terms of, I know when I ordered food to go, my son and my daughter may just grab the food and bring it in the home. And so, again, the drivers, sometimes you have to contactless deliveries as well. And so I think this has been a tool for our small businesses and restaurants from that nature, but also that educational piece. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question. On the sunset as opposed to a permanent, is there a reason why you all decided on a 2-year sunset extension and not a recommendation to permanently allow?
I think the only, Madam Chair and Senator Williams-Graves, I think the only reason that we decided that way was based on the fact that compliance is much lower than, and we think we need to keep that emphasis there that, we really all need to work together, and I think we see the sunset as a sign that says we're not quite there yet, like we are with, brick and mortar, with selling to underage. And we think that if there was no sunset, then perhaps the emphasis would be lost. And it's for all the reasons that Senator Rouse stated. I mean, across the country, we're plugged in with alcohol law enforcement agencies across the country. Many agencies aren't even doing underage buyer checks for this yet in other states that allow it, just because of the hurdles that are there to try to find a location where you can have a product delivered. Obviously, you don't want to deliver it to a young person's home, right, where they live at, right, that the person would know that that's where the underage buyer lives. So there are a lot of logistical situations that we're also still working out in the regulated community. So that's kind of the reasoning why.
Madam Chair, follow-up?
Yes, Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you. So just as a clarification, you're recommending the 2-year on alcohol to go if someone is purchasing in a brick and mortar and they're able to get alcohol to go, and then what on the third party? Or is it all the same?
So we made the recommendation all the same. Okay. I think that there is a bill that's going to come before you perhaps that allows no sunset for the to-go, meaning you ordered it, you went into the brick and mortar and you picked it up, and then maybe a 1-year or 2-year sunset on the delivery piece. I think our focus is on the delivery piece because, again, we find typically our brick and mortar places are much more experienced in this. I would also point out just one other point. When we initially went through this bill the first time it came forward, where it got the initial 2-year sunset, the compliance rate was actually much less than the 54%. So I don't want you all to think we're not seeing improvement. We are actually seeing improvement from our third-party delivery drivers. I think we will get that compliance up. It's not an industry that is ignoring the regulation or the seriousness of giving alcohol to an underage person. I think we are struggling. We're a market where you have a delivery driver who doesn't have any supervision on site. They're meeting at a location. I mean, there are a lot of situations that are very different than when you have an ABC manager inside, a grocery store or a restaurant that's oversight of everything, someone else you can turn to and ask a question about. We missed that on the delivery piece. So we are seeing improvement. We don't feel that we're actually there to where we think we should take our eye off of this, and that's the recommendation.
I hope ABC can offer many training programs for the third-party delivery drivers and delivery folks.
Madam Chair,
that's the only way you're going to improve that 54%.
One more follow-up.
Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you. Quick question in terms of compliance and what are the consequences if a delivery driver service is not being compliant? What happens then?
That's a great question, Senator Williams-Graves. So when an underage buyer is provided alcohol, what we would typically do is charge that person that provided the alcohol or sold the alcohol with a criminal offense for providing alcohol to an underage person. Because the delivery is so new, we've been kind of doing a grace period where we're just advising them of that, and we haven't actually started implementing punishment yet because we're, again, trying to educate first. The second piece is the company. So think, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, all the ones that you could think of, even maybe an independent agency. All of those, they also get charged through ABC's civil process, and then they are given a civil penalty, which usually for the first offense is somewhere around, $2,000, $2,500, and things of that nature. So there is some penalty that comes along on both sides of the driver, and we are, now that we've gotten through this kind of testing phase where we're trying to educate everybody, we want to start imposing those penalties. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any further questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you.
Thank you to the ABC team. We're going to go on with our agenda, and I'm sure we'll have many conversations over the next session, so appreciate your efforts. I have 5 bills on the docket, so we're going to leave me to last. And I don't see Senator McPike here. Is Senator McPike here? I don't see him. Okay, so we're going to move to Senate Bill 173. Senator Craig, welcome. Usually I have the patrons go to the podium. It's just easier. We can all hear you, and the audience also, our viewing audience, has a better perspective, more complete perspective.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I have a very simple bill. I have Senate Bill 173. It's adult daycare technical amendment. There are currently 72 adult daycare centers in Virginia that are regulated by the Department of Social Services. These facilities provide quality care for older adults and individuals with disabilities, and for decades leading to a decrease in social isolation for those who attend and respect for family caregivers. Right now, the Code of Virginia defines such facility as an adult daycare center. The term daycare typically associated with care provided during the day for young adults or toddlers. Additionally, removing care from adult daycare from the adult daycare definition ensures that the terminology is person-centered, focused on adult settings, and eliminates the stigma. That's all this bill does, is just remove the word day from adult daycare, and so it just becomes adult care. And so I think it's a very simple bill. It just takes that word out of the code. It's a very thick bill, and I would love for the committee to pass this bill and send it to the floor.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Seems like a very straightforward bill. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
Oh, God.
Okay, before I ask for questions, do you happen to have anybody who's lined up to speak, or is this so straightforward that...
I have Ms. Parsons.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on Senate Bill 173. I'm Dana Parsons, Vice President and Legislative Counsel with Leading Age Virginia. We support this bill, believing that removing the stigma attached with the term daycare will not only help our older Virginians to feel their life has purpose, but their families and caregivers will feel confident knowing their loved one is benefiting from a setting that is tailored to meet the needs of older adults. And for the reasons the Senator stated, and we thank her for bringing this legislation, we'd ask that you support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Senator DeSteph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have just one or two little questions about this bill that I know is very simple, but it's 37 pages, 2,250 lines, which is normally more complex than just something we would refer to as simple. And I know the outcome of this bill and the outcome of the vote will very much depend on how you answer the questions. And a lot of us are trying to find the silver lining in this bill that is very complex. And I know that after I've read all 2,250 lines, I see there may be a few wrinkles in this bill. So since you're really trying to push gray areas in this complex 37-page bill, and I hope before you go to the floor, you know how many words are in this 2,250-line, 37-page bill. And it really looks like you're trying to make history with your first bill, or trying to roll us back into the golden ages on the first bill in front of this committee. So how many words are in this bill, Senator Craig?
Madam Chairman, I would ask the very elderly senator from Virginia Beach that I would yield to the Legislative Services attorney because he drafted it. Thank you for that great question.
Madam Chair, if I may, one quick follow-up before we vote on this very complex bill that's 37 pages, 2,250 lines, and probably, 110,000 words roughly. So my question and the outcome of this bill truly will depend on how Senator Craig responds accordingly with this very complex bill. And I hope before this comes to the floor, she knows exactly how many words are in this complex bill that is truly trying to make history or set us back into the golden ages. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For the illumination of the audience, I will say that this is Senator Craig's first presentation as a senator before a committee. So some of my colleagues are welcoming her to that new experience. Does anybody else have any questions for Senator Craig? Senator Craig, you did an excellent job presenting. Okay, I would now like a motion.
Move to report.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
You want to vote, Senator?
Yes. Ayes 12, no 0.
Can we?
Madam Chair, having voting on the prevailing side of which was pass this fine bill, I would like to recall this bill so one of the members who presented the bill failed to vote on the bill, and I know how important it would be to vote on your own bill. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to...
Okay, there's a motion for reconsideration. Is there a second? Second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, let's go back to our first motion, and the motion was made to report the bill, and there was a second. Will the clerk please open the roll again?
Ayes 13, no 0.
Okay, your bill reports, and congratulations, it doesn't have to go to finance.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Senator DeSteph, and we got adult daycare for you coming soon.
I don't see Senator McPike in the audience. I'm going to ask Senator Rouse to temporarily chair the meeting while I present. Yeah, you can come over here.
Which bill would you like to go first with?
I think I'm going to start with Senate Bill 12. So
All right.
go consecutive. I have other bills coming before this committee as well. As you can tell, I'm very interested in the work of the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to present Senate Bill 12, and this has to do with the child advocacy centers, but there is an amendment I would like to offer, and it is a small amendment. But if you go to line 438, we would like to strike "or another trained child forensic interviewer." And if you go to line 479, please strike the remainder of line 479 and through interviewer on line 480.
So, are these motion? There's a second. Is this a voice vote? All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. The amendment is accepted.
Okay. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, what this bill does is it changes the name of Child Advocacy Center to Children's Advocacy Center, and it defines what a Children's Advocacy Center is. So it is very clear about the credentialing requirements that a Children's Advocacy Center must do. It also talks about the need or the desirability of Child Protective Services, if there's situations such exist, to use a forensic interviewer at the Children's Advocacy Center. And we also mention that in the child trafficking section of the code, the human trafficking section. So that's what this bill does. I've worked with stakeholders. We think it's incredibly important to have a statement about Children's Advocacy Centers, the need for it, the fact that they are credentialed and very trained in interviewing children who have been abused or sexually assaulted. There are no issues with this bill. It doesn't have to go to finance, and I respectfully ask that it pass. I believe there are some people in the audience who might want to speak to this.
Thank you, Senator Favole.
Please state,
Mr. Chair.
Please state your name. And
Yes, sir. Stan Trediak with Hefty, Wiley & Gore on behalf of Children's Advocacy Centers of Virginia. And we do support the legislation. And before I start, let me say we'd like to thank Senator Favole, Madam Chair, for not only bringing this before the committee today, but for her tireless support in support of children and families throughout the Commonwealth and for trafficking victims. Children's Advocacy Centers of Virginia is the state chapter of the National Children's Alliance, which provides accreditation to CACs. It's also the organizing entity for the 19 CACs and 7 satellite facilities that are in the state. Right now, we're servicing over 7,000 children and their families. And we do strongly support this for the reasons that the senator outlined. And I would like to indulge the committee by, we have 3 directors from across the state who traveled in this morning just to give you a very brief overview of their territory, their jurisdiction, what they do, and they can answer any question you might have about accreditation or forensic interviews. So thank you very much.
is there anyone else who want to speak in support?
I'm going to just step in. Elizabeth Hobbs with the Virginia Sheriff's Association. We support this bill. Children's Advocacy Centers are a really essential piece of successful investigation and prosecution of crimes against children. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Turner. I am the director of the Child Advocacy Center in Emporia, Virginia, under the auspices of the Family Violent Sexual Assault Unit. We serve localities including the city of Emporia, Greensville County, Sussex County, Dinwiddie County, and Mecklenburg County. My role there, of course, is to oversee day-to-day operations of the Children's Advocacy Center and to ensure that we meet all of best practice standards as outlined by the National Children's Alliance for accreditation purposes. We actually just underwent our accreditation first process after becoming a developing center in 2016, and we underwent a very thorough site review that was conducted by other Children's Advocacy Center directors, one from Oklahoma and one from the state of Michigan. This is national best practice standards, and we were recommended for accreditation. And what that means is that we meet a standard of excellence that's required not only in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but is also required across the country. One of the other roles that I am actually performing at this job is a forensic interviewer. I've been trained in Child First, which is a nationally recognized model of forensic interviewing. In 2016, I've also been trained by the National Children's Alliance Center. It's called the NCAC model. I've also been trained in an extended forensic interviewing model, which actually is beneficial for potentially reluctant witnesses and victims, and also potentially children who may face developmental delays or other issues that might cause them to need additional rapport building and time to be able to disclose what is most likely the most horrific event that they've ever experienced. So I would be happy today to answer any questions that you may have related to the function of the director, the accreditation process, and also forensic interviewing. Thank you.
Did you want to? Okay. As you can see, I have a support team behind me, so if you have tough questions, I can turn to the experts. But again, I renew my motion that you report this bill.
Thank you. It's a motion and a second to report. Any comments or questions from the members of the committee? Hearing none, seeing none, please open the vote.
Please vote for me, Mr. Chairman. Oh.
Gotcha.
Got it. Okay.
The bill
Ayes
reports.
14, no 0.
The bill reports.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, I'd now like to move to Senate Bill 19, and it's the recovery residences, death and serious injury reports, and I have one minor amendment to that bill, if I could read it. If we go to line 35, please delete in the same manner, and on line 36, required for licensed facilities and programs. So the bill reads that shall require recovery residences to report to the department any death or serious injury that occurs in the recovery residence. I just removed in the same manner that's required for licensed facilities. The reason that language, may I ask you to adopt that amendment, please?
Is there a motion? Second. Voice vote, all in favor? All opposed? Hearing none, seeing none, the amendment is adopted.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, it's critical that these certified homes, which are primarily the Oxford homes, and VARs, which are Virginia Residence Recovery Homes, that they too have some quality expectation. So the expectation here is that if there is a serious illness or a death, it must be reported. The Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services will have the authority under this bill to establish how they want those incidences reported and what kind of detail they want. I did work with stakeholders. As far as I know, there's not opposition to this, and I can tell you that it's very much needed, and we should worry about the quality of any group home or home that is licensed or given money or the state has oversight responsibility over. So thank you.
Senator Reeves.
We rolled SB 190 into that. And so are they both going to be listed as chief co-patrons?
Yes, yes, both will be listed as chief co-patrons. Thank you, Senator Reeves, for bringing that up.
It's already been rolled.
It has been rolled, but
on that information, Mr. Chairman, I ask the bill to report.
Second.
Yeah, so we take testimony. Do you have anyone want to speak in support of the bill?
I did not ask for people to attend this meeting, so I'm unclear.
Please state your name. Thank you.
Of course. My name is Chrissy Chow. I'm a member of the Virginia Association for Addiction Professionals, but today I'm actually speaking on behalf of myself. Thank you for hearing me today. On October 7th, 2020, my partner Ian died in a certified recovering home of an accidental overdose and was not discovered for 40 hours. This, among other facts, highlights the lack of oversight in recovery homes. Ian was not the only resident in that house who was using substances at the time, as evidenced by text messages and photos on his phone at the time of his death. Also evidenced by the fact that after his body was removed from the home, people went into his bedroom and stole his belongings and wallet. While Ian is the one who did use the substances that ultimately ended his life, the recovery house that he lived in did not adequately provide oversight, which could have prevented his death. Oversight might have highlighted the fact that other members of the household were using substances and then provided help for them or assistance. However, even if the same outcome did exist and Ian still did pass away, maybe we wouldn't have been robbed of the opportunity to say goodbye to him, because unfortunately, if somebody has been deceased for 40 hours, you are strongly advised not to see them. I share this because I think that it's vital that we require mandatory reporting to DBHDS on serious incidents and overdoses. If we don't know the extent of the issue, how can we hope to help? Additionally, we should not only create a position, but fund a position at DBHDS to provide oversight, because DBHDS does not visit the homes in which they certify. These changes could help others so that people won't have to suffer like Ian did, and as me and his family now have to, because I think that we can and we really need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Christy Morton with Two Capitals Consulting, representing the Virginia Association of Recovery Residences. And I just wanted to thank Senator Favola for working with us on this, and we have no concerns with the bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I would like this to report and be re-referred to Finance. I believe that's a note on your...
With the motion to...
Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion to the substitute motion of the chairman and second her motion to re-refer to Finance.
So there's a substitute motion to report and refer to Finance. Will you please open the vote now?
Ayes 15, no 0.
The motion to report and refer to Finance has been approved. Next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask the committee to draw your attention to Senate Bill 40. This is a Section 1 bill, and it directs the Department of Social Services to amend its regulations, and I have yet another amendment. And they're amending their regulations so they can ensure that foster youth have access to benefits that they may be entitled to. So if you go to line 12, you would be inserting to apply for federal benefits administered by the U.S. Social Security Administration or the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. I would ask that that line amendment be accepted.
The motion seconded to approve the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The amendment has been accepted. You may continue.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, this is a very straightforward bill. It's not complicated, and the purpose is really important. So often our foster youth graduate from the system. I guess graduate's not the right word, but they age out of the foster care system. And they have no safety net, no monetary safety net, and unfortunately not a family to help them. So if they are entitled to federal benefits, we expect the Child Protective Services agencies to set up trust funds and have those dollars available That's the intent of this bill. So stakeholders will be called together by the State Board of Social Services. I did work with the Disability Law Center and some other groups, and we are very excited about this. I ask that the bill pass as amended.
Do you have?
I do have a speaker.
Okay, speak. All right. Please state your name and the group you're representing.
I'm John Semina with the Disability Law Center of Virginia. We've long been concerned about the fate of children in the foster care system, particularly children with disabilities who age out, and effectively have nothing to turn back on. And this bill would go a long way to preserving some of the funds that are already allocated for these children and ensure that they've got a little bit of funding when they get out, excuse me, for rent, education, shirt and tie for the first interview, or whatever other needs they might have at that time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there any opposition?
Mr. Chairman?
Hearing none, seeing none. Is there a motion?
I'm just checking to see if there's a fiscal statement, and
That was going to be my question.
Senator Reeves?
you should have an annotation. Is there a fiscal statement on this? I think there is.
Mr. Chair, I would make the motion to pass and re-refer to finance.
There's a motion to report and refer to finance. You open the vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Bill reports and refers to finance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask the committee to put your attention on Senate Bill 43. This establishes an ombudsman program in the statutorily designated Disability Law Center. But the purpose of this program would be really to sort of receive and respond to questions that members who are trying to access our services for disabled individuals or advocates or others, to try to resolve some of the bureaucratic red tape that frequently takes place in the bureaucracy. We have several agencies that touch services provided to individuals with disabilities. Sometimes those agencies don't talk to each other. It's very challenging to get an answer and then to figure out how to access a service. With that in mind, that was the intent of this bill. And I did work with Matthew Shapiro and the Disability Law Center. Matthew did come down from, was it Arlington? Did you come down from Richmond? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Matthew Shapiro, representing myself on this bill. We're using this bill to just streamline the system. Usually it's very convoluted. You get pointed in many different directions when you're trying to navigate different services. And so we're hoping that an ombudsman would streamline the process and get people with disabilities the services they need.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anyone here to speak in support of the bill?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Colleen Miller from the Disability Law Center. We've been very happy to work with both Matthew and Senator Favola on this. As if any of you have been dealing with issues from your constituents, I think you know that the disability services system in Virginia is really hard to navigate. It's very difficult to figure out, like, who do you contact if you're in an assisted living facility? Who do you contact if you're in a group home? The nature of the advocacy that we do means that we actually know how to do these things. It's some of the stuff that we do on behalf of clients as part of our representation. So I think we're equipped to respond to the questions, to help people navigate the system and figure out where to turn when they have issues. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Ashley Wright, representing the ARC of Virginia. We're very grateful to Senator Favola and Matthew for their work on this. The ARC is in full support of this bill. It will be a wonderful resource for individuals and their families. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee, Chair, Senator Favola. I'm Terry Morgan with the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities. We feel that this bill would have a positive impact on the disability community as a whole, and in particular, a positive impact for individuals, for families and individuals with disabilities. Thank you, Senator Favola and Matthew, for your leadership with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill will have to go to Finance. I did submit a budget amendment. It's not a large one, but I would ask that the committee report this and refer it to finance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to report and refer to finance? It's a motion is second. Can you please open the vote, please? Correct.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right.
Yes,
I'm
okay,
ready for the
Mr.
next one.
Chairman, my last bill for today is Senate Bill 51. This is a Section 1 bill. I do have a line amendment, if I may read that. On line 13, after services, please insert the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired.
It's a motion to amend it. Is there a second? All in favor? All opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the amendment is accepted.
Okay, so now the bill as amended will direct DARS, Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, and we just added the Department for the Blind and Disabled to also work with the Department of Education and the Department of Behavioral Health. What we're trying to do is ensure that online resources are available and disseminated to all individuals once they reach that age of transitioning. And this would deal with individuals who are developmentally challenged or have disabilities. They're aging out of our school system. They're getting ready to start a new chapter in their life, either go on to school or work or whatever. But we need to have resources available. They have to be easily available. This would require that they be put online. I was told there was no fiscal impact. Is that still the case?
That is
correct. Okay, so this bill just needs your blessing.
It's a motion to move and report the bill, being that it doesn't have to go to finance. We can report it out. Can you open the vote, please?
Ayes 15, no 0.
The bill is reported. And yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
I believe the chair is going to come back.
I'm now done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. McPike.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Senator
members of the
McPike.
committee. I have Senate Bill 70 before the committee, Madam Chair, with one line amendment.
Okay. Could you read that line amendment for us?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, to be on lines 103, reading all local departments shall offer strike and insert a voluntary to make sure that it's clear within the code that is a voluntary employment and training program being offered.
Okay, very good. So I believe the amendment was adopted. Is that correct, colleagues? Well, you made a motion. Was it seconded? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Okay, the amended bill is before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 70 is a follow-up from a JAILRC study issued earlier this year. The JAILRC study studied and took a look at the state self-sufficiency program, and it requires all local departments of social services to offer recipients of SNAP benefits. It's designed to improve their workplace skills and their employability. As you know, SNAP is what we used to call food stamps. JAILRC found that the SNAP recipients who did not receive these type of employment and training services were less likely to be employed and had lower wages than SNAP recipients who did receive employment and training. One of the issues that was found is essentially out of our local governments, only 37 of 120 actually offer employment and training. So this makes it a requirement to offer employment and training as an opportunity for those SNAP recipients if they wish to do so. It's really closing one of the gaps that we found when it is offered. It's higher wages, higher opportunities for employment, and this helps to close the gap. And so, Madam Chairman, the bill really focuses on the fact that 40% of Virginia SNAP recipients don't have access to these services right now. The bill would require all local departments to make these services available to SNAP recipients. to improve the likelihood that these public beneficiaries will become self-sufficient. And Madam Chair, that is the bill.
Thank you. Is there a question to for the patron? He may have speakers. Okay. Do you have any speakers who want to speak to this?
I'm not sure if others want to speak or not. But...
Okay, there are no speakers, and yes, this does have to go to Finance. Senator Reeves.
Move to report and refer to Finance.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Colleagues, if you have no discussion, if you don't have any comments or discussion, will the clerk open the roll?
Ayes 15, no 0.
Very good. Your bill reports, and it's re-referred to Finance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, colleagues, that completes our agenda. I will ask our clerk, Mr. May, is there anything that I neglected to address at this meeting? There's no other business coming before us. I will accept a motion to adjourn. Okay, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. You're
Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.